I think we're blessed to have two guys that would start at most places. And we have two really good quarterbacks and the best players going to play. And
hello there, everybody. Welcome in on a Tuesday, August the 16th. I'm Dennis Fithian, and you got us. Maize and Blue review, Michigan football today. And it is great to be here. That was Michigan co-offensive coordinator Matt Weiss talking about his QBs. And we're going to jump right into it. Today, we have some Michigan football recruiting news that we are going to go over. But we are going to start with the quarterback battle for the Maize and Blue. You know, you go back to Wednesday, August the 3rd, that is when Michigan started practice. So they're about 2 weeks into fall camp. And the news has been that Cade McNamara, if Saturday Michigan was opening up against Colorado State, it would be number 12 under center. That would lead the Wolverines out. Meanwhile, it's not this Saturday. It's not the following Saturday. It's still, there's a ways away. There's still time to make a move if you're somebody like J.J. McCarthy, and they are practicing and they are battling it out in practice. But that's just the word after 2 weeks, and that's not a real surprise, I don't think, to anybody. Now, there are a lot of people that think that McCarthy is more talented and he would be better suited. He has a higher ceiling, and it would be better off for Michigan just to have J.J. McCarthy be the starter right from the first game. And he would do the best job. He would maximize Michigan's chances this year at winning. And they might be right. You might be right if that's the way you feel. And, you know, as things go, I've made my own prediction on how I think it's going to play out. I thought that Cade McNamara would start on September the 3rd. But by the time they got to their fifth game, which this year is their first road game, it happens to take place on October 1st in Iowa City against the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think at that time, J.J. McCarthy is going to start. At least that's my prediction. Now, I am not somebody that's sitting back here thinking that, that Jim Harbaugh is going to ruin this season by playing Cade McNamara at the start. And, even if as long as I don't, I can have my opinion, you can have your opinion, but the thing is, I'm not going to have a problem. I don't think I'm going to have a problem if Michigan is winning and Cade McNamara is the quarterback. Now, could Michigan win and Cade McNamara not play well and then, still be happy? I'm not sure that can happen. Could Cade McNamara not play well against Iowa and Michigan still win? I guess, but I think that when you do have somebody, and this is the whole thing that it comes down to, when you have somebody that is pretty close, wherever the gap is, whatever you think ceiling, whatever McCarthy does well, whatever McNamara does well, there's a guy waiting there if the starter is not performing well, or if the starter falters or gets banged up, whatever, there's an opening for the backup. And that guy is going to, in this case, McCarthy, could go right in there. I mean, as soon as game one, even though, sitting around talking about it's likely going to be McNamara, it could be as soon as game one that McCarthy takes over. Now, there's a lot of people, I was thinking about this today, like, are Michigan fans going to be miserable if the Wolverines go 11-0? And they haven't played great, but they've, been winning games, and McNamara is starting all of their games that are going in to a 12th game, going for an undefeated season, going up against Ohio State, a juggernaut on the road. But Cade McNamara is going to be the starter for that game. Are people going to be like, I don't think this is going to be best for Michigan? I don't know. I think there'll be some people that will be like that. They'll still be like, McCarthy gives Michigan the best chance to win that game. And, is it a problem? I don't know. It could be a problem if you're a fan and, you're not in there and you can't do anything. So maybe if you're at the game, you can be yelling to Harbaugh, like, put him in, let's go. And we're going to get to the situation where if you were in the stands within shouting distance of Harbaugh. I don't know, what's that, 10, 15 rows up? Heck, you can be anywhere. You can be shouting at your TV, and you probably will. But there's some scenarios where I think that the crowd and you will be justified by yelling, "Put McCarthy in already." And it could come as soon as game one. So we'll go through that. As always, you got some feedback that you want to get in, and we put your thoughts up on the screen, like Ricky, who says Michigan football is my life. He's been a fan since the first time he's seen the winged helmet. That was a question that I put up. It's the first time I've done this. Put up a question before the show on how much time do you spend every day thinking about Michigan football. Ricky, first time he saw the winged helmet. Antoine's checking on Michigan football news every day. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, look, football is, I think we could say it. Football is very addicting. It's the national pastime. Everybody loves football with an incredible passion. Some people like pro a little bit better. I like college. I love pro football, but I like college just a little bit more. And for Michigan, it's a year-round type thing. You can go, sure, I like Michigan basketball. And I like football and baseball and hockey. Baseball this year, the Tigers have been so terrible. There's no reason to fret over the Detroit Tigers. But, football is something that you can follow all year long. The pros definitely, the way they have their draft. And, in college, you've got recruiting. And there's always a little something shows like this, talking about Michigan football every day. The captain loves Michigan football. I put the train at the beginning of the show just because the captain put choo-choo in there. The punters loves the competition raging at the quarterback position. Whoever starts will have to earn his spot. I hope it's that way for every position on the team. I think you're right. I think you're right to hope that. Here's the thing, punter, when it comes down to the quarterback, I don't have to tell you, but it's always good to state some of these things. Like, if you could only play one running back, we would be sitting here talking about, Donovan Edwards has shown so much. Just think about, he threw the touchdown in the Big Ten championship game. He made that catch where he was just, he just looked so smooth. He did look really smooth. It wasn't nonchalant. It was like a second nature when he just flared out of the backfield against Ohio State, and the ball was coming, close to him, but it wasn't right on his body. He stuck his arm out, and the ball just landed right in there, and then he went up, and it was like, whoa. I mean, some of those little things like that. So if it was just like, you could say, but they could both play. Unfortunately, and Jim Harbaugh might disagree with this, you can't play two quarterbacks all the time. It's never worked in college football history, and you've got to go with one. You can sprinkle another guy in. Harbaugh did it last year, a little bit here and there, and then in blowouts, obviously you can play another guy. But you got to go. What's the saying? You got to dance with the one that you started with. You got to play the one that you started with. You can't be moving this all around. You can't go back and start playing this guy and playing that guy and rotating him in. So that's the problem. Offensive line, you really can't do that either. Offensive line and quarterback. A lot of other positions, you can. I really like Roman Wilson this year, but Roman Wilson doesn't have to be in there on every play. They can take him out of an entire series. Defensive tackle and defensive line and linebacker, it's good, especially a defensive tackle, defensive line overall. It's good to have a nice rotation in there. You see him coming in, coming out, fresh, being able to attack, that way. But the quarterback, you just can't do that. The captain is saying that if Cade is winning, is that really a negative read on JJ? Cade's ability is more known. Now, I don't think there's anything negative about Cade McNamara. Reports that if the opener was this weekend that he would be the starter. I don't think there's anything negative about it if he's the starter on September the 3rd. I know, there's going to be some hot takes. There's going to be people that say, And here's the argument that, McCarthy, when you watch him, you can see, man, like he's, he can run. He's the modern quarterback that if you're saying, like, what's the modern quarterback? It would be Patrick Mahomes. You want somebody that can throw it a mile, that's got a great arm talent, but also is really electric with his legs. And that's Patrick Mahomes. And that's what J.J. McCarthy, we've only seen him a little bit, but he is like that. He's dynamic. So why wouldn't you go with the ceiling, the risk reward of J.J. McCarthy? I don't look at it like a negative. Michigan is going to have these 4 games where you're going to be able to see both of these guys, and we are going to be able to judge it. Now, what's going on now is really important. They go through all the practices, they evaluate the tape, and then they say, okay, here's how we're divvying up the snaps, all these things that we're not privileged to. And we hear, especially if you are a member of Maize and Blue Review, you hear before anyone else. But you ultimately hear like, all right, Cade has the lead right now, even though they're splitting the snaps. When we are able to watch them play, we are going to be able to make our own decision. And you've got a real, it's not just going to be one game. And then you think about, well, Harbaugh, what if he runs the ball all 3 quarters and he puts JJ in, for a series in the 4th quarter when it's already 40-9? I mean, like, no, that would be, I think that would be very extreme. I think Harbaugh has to. And I think he will give McCarthy an opportunity in those first 4 games. He might even start him in one of those games. I mean, like, your guess is almost as good as mine. And in some cases, it's probably better than mine. But no, I don't view it as a negative. I don't view McNamara starting and Michigan winning as a negative. As soon as Michigan loses, then it could be an issue, and probably will be. Because I doubt Michigan loses a game and McNamara plays great. There's still, like last year against Michigan State, that was the defense that couldn't stop Kenneth Walker and was, running around at times with their chickens with their head cut off and all that. It was the defense that lost that game. Meanwhile, at the end, McNamara had an opportunity and he threw an interception. You're like, wow, was that on him? Well, he still had a little time. It wasn't a great throw. But, the point is, as long as Michigan's winning and he's playing reasonably well, you should be happy if you're a Michigan fan. That's when they drop a game or he's not playing well. I wanted to get to this week. I was on the posting board, the Wolverine Den, the Maize and Blue Review, where you should be. And I was debating McNamara and McCarthy. And at one point we got to the spring game. And if you go back, McCarthy wasn't able to participate in the spring because of his shoulder. He wasn't able to throw. So he was on the sideline. He was there at the spring game. But McNamara did play in the spring game. He led, 3 series. He threw 7 passes, and he completed 3 of them. And the argument that we were having, discussion that we were having on the Wolverine Den is somebody said McNamara played horribly in the spring game. And I said, he didn't play horribly. He came out in his first pass. He missed Cornelius Johnson, who was open down the sideline. It was a bad throw. That was his first pass, bad throw. And, usually maybe you're remembered by your first pass, but then he had, actually it was his first pass. I think it was the second one. He had another one. He had the back, I think it was Corum going over the middle, and the ball got knocked down. He had another one on the second series where he took a shot down the middle, down the seam to Andrell Anthony, and he put it right on him. And whoever the defensive back was, batted away. And it was a good defensive play, but it was a good ball by McNamara. And then he had another one to All that he threw in the middle of the defense, and All, and maybe it wasn't a perfect pass, but All dropped it. Should have had it. So he had one bad pass. He had 2 that were broken up, that were good passes, and then a third that was dropped. And then he made a couple short passes. But the point here is not to go too extreme on the spring game, but let's just say those were 3 drives They didn't go anywhere. They certainly didn't produce any points. There was one bad pass, and mostly people don't care about pass breakups and drops. It's like, hey, is the quarterback moving the chains? Is he getting points on the board? In this case, he was not doing that. Would it be fair if Cade McNamara in the opener played 3 series and Michigan did not get any points, and he had a couple passes that were knocked down or dropped, and then he missed another one? Would it be fair if you were at the game and at that point said, hey, Harbaugh, put McCarthy in. Let's go. It's right, to me, that's right there. Like, you're not going to go after one. I know there'll be some people, you'll be sitting next to him. You have one pass, they'll be like, put McCarthy in. That's extreme. And you get in there and, you go 3 and out. Like, let's go. Let's put number 9 in. You get McNamara out there, they move the ball a little bit, but, he throws a pass downfield and, there's a nice defensive play there. You get a first down, but you don't put any points out. After 2 series, are you really thinking, okay, put McCarthy in? No, I still think that's still bordering on being extreme. But if you get a 3rd series, especially against Colorado State or Hawaii or UConn, and hell, I'm going to throw Maryland in there at any point in the first 4 games. If there are 3 straight series that the ball is not getting into the opponent's territory, and in a couple of those you're going 3 and out, is that then fair to say put number 9 in? And that's yes, it is. And that's where, if you think like this quarterback, it's all, hey, who cares? Like, these games are going to be blowouts. That's where you get into the dangerous spot, because if you're a Harbaugh and said, look, he put the ball right on the wide receivers, like, he had a one drop. That's not on Cade, and that's the kind of things that a coach, that's what coaches kind of look at that. The fans, they're looking at the scoreboard, they're looking at the team not moving. They're looking at 3 and outs. They're not necessarily looking at the ball placement. And if there was a nice play by the defensive backs, it's very bottom line when it comes down. I'll put the media in there too. I don't know how many times the media, how well that's going to go over. Like, well, Cade is actually throwing the ball well. No, you're either getting it done or you're not. And that's the danger spot, because you can get the crowd turning against a starter and even booing him. If there was a 4th series under this scenario that I'm putting out there, and Cade McNamara was not moving the team, and let's say he threw an interception, or he, threw a bad pass, you are going to hear some boo birds, and you say, oh my, what, Michigan fans shouldn't do that. Any fan base, passionate fan base, in this situation, you go 3-4 series and you're not moving the ball, and you've got a backup that is right there fighting it out, you're going to want to see him. And no, it's probably not best to, boo your quarterback. I mean, not best to boo your head coach or catcall your offensive coordinator. I mean, none of that is helpful, but it happens. I mean, who are we kidding? Like, oh, let's just cheer for him no matter what. Like, okay, you can do that, but the other half of the crowd is not going to stand for that. We just know that. But here's the thing, getting back to what the captain says. And the captain's talking about, is it really a negative read on JJ? I don't think it's a negative read. If Harbaugh's not giving McCarthy an opportunity in these first 4 games to really see what he could do, to me, that would be a negative, and that would be on Jim Harbaugh. We'd have, and he will be asked a lot about that. And, so he's going to have to deal with that. Like, if they're running the ball too much against these easy opponents, this is the bad side of having easy opponents. Well, everyone thinks, myself included, that Michigan should blow the doors off of their first 4 opponents. They should certainly never trail. They should be up early, and they should play 2 quarterbacks, and everybody should play. They should bury these teams. And yeah, running the ball is fine, but also, showing what these guys can do with their arms and opening the offense up and letting these guys get after it. There's And I know Michigan's identity last year, and we saw it against Washington, was ground and pound. There's not much you can say. I was sitting there at the halftime of Washington last year when the game was 10-0 at the half, and I can remember saying it. This is fine. Michigan's doing well, but they're going to have to throw the ball. They can't just sit there and run the ball every play. Like, let's see them open it up a little bit in the second half. Well, they didn't really open it up in the second half. They just kept running it. But they took the first series of the third quarter and they took it right down the field, smashed the Huskies in the mouth, and, went in for the touchdown. So how can you complain if it's working? And if you're running the ball 5-6 yards a clip, you're dominating them, you get the ball in. And then at that point, when it's 17-0 and you're on your way to over 50 carries and 350 yards or whatever it was, how much can you really complain about it? There was a little bit of complaining, like, hey, are they ever you're not going to be able to do this all year long. Well, they did do it all year long. Michigan went to the throwback offense last year. So, I don't know. I'm expecting an expanded rotation this year, regardless of how it works out, even after September. Those dangerous spots that you talked about, it doesn't work. Rotating quarterbacks, really, if you're thinking about really playing the backup a lot, or maybe even not calling it like a 1 and 1A type situation, I don't like that because it doesn't work historically in college football. But it's not all bad having two quarterbacks, and one of the really good parts is that, like, normally, like, you look at the NFL teams and you look at some of the backups. I'd take the Lions, like, Jared Goff's all right, whatever you want to think about him. He's not a top 16 quarterback, but he's all right. But if Jared Goff gets hurt, the Lions are done. If Aaron Rodgers goes down, and Love is in, they're done. Most teams you go through, from the Broncos to, like, if Chad Henne, like, for the Chiefs, that you can win a game. You can miss a game or two. But the thing with Michigan, you don't like to talk about injuries, but they're in a really good position. They've got really good depth at quarterback. So it's not all about, oh my God, danger, and everybody, the crowd might be booing, and Harbaugh's setting himself up, and there's going to be people yelling and screaming no matter what. All of that is true, but it's not all bad, because having a really good backup that could be a starter might really be able to pay off for you. If you go back to last year, and if you watch the Penn State play, and you remember their quarterback went down, and they didn't have a backup. The backup came in, and he was a freshman, and he played like that. Dropped the ball, couldn't throw it, turned it over left and right, and it cost, like, not being harsh, it's being accurate. That cost Penn State. Everybody watched that game. It was a top 5 battle. That cost Penn State that game. That's why Iowa won, because the starter got hurt, and the backup went to Kentucky, and so Penn State was in a real spot. So that's how I'm thinking about the quarterback battle. Let's get some of the feedback in. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of feedback about the quarterback. Tolu, literally nobody has indicated that Cade is better. They've actually been very coy from the jump. Well, there are, coaches that, and when you say literally nobody, when you hear coaches come out and talk about all the things that Cade does well, like, he's a take care of the ball, like he did the majority of the season, they won the Big Ten, experience, those are things. Like, I would say this, Tolo, literally nobody thinks that Cade McNamara has a better arm, or is a better runner, is the better athlete, or has a better arm talent. Nobody, you're correct, is saying that Cade does those things better. Is there an argument that Cade could be a better quarterback because he puts everybody in the right position, knows how to run a team, has had success, has the experience, and can get you from point A to point B by protecting the football? Number one, can do that better. And I know that he had some issues late in the season there, but overall, and in camp, you feel better as a staff because you have somebody that can take care of the ball and has the experience and has done it before? Yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can throw the ball to the moon. Joe Milton had the best arm that I've ever seen. But Joe Milton was also somebody, it was like you can hit the ball 450 yards as a golfer off the tee, but if you're hitting it, 70 of those yards into the woods, you're in trouble. I'm not saying McCarthy's throwing it into the woods and can't hit it down the middle, but it's the point. You know what I'm saying? We'll get some other questions in here. T.O. again, why is the media so hell-bent on predicting what literally everybody on the staff has said is an open competition? I don't know if everybody's hell-bent. I'll put myself into that category. There has been a little news, like, through the 2 weeks. It's like, do you want to hear, like, it's absolutely even all the way through? Cade makes a good throw. JJ makes a good throw. If Cade doesn't throw necessarily the best pass, then McCarthy doesn't. They've had enough practice and they've gone through enough reps where an observer can watch and say, Cade is having a better camp. Cade had a better practice. Cade had a better throw. And when they're done with practice, you might and myself, like, so we're taking a note on every single throw and every single play that's coming in and how, but afterwards they do sit around and study exactly what was going on. Did he get the play in right? Did he make the right checks at the line? Okay. Was he able to get all of the snaps with the center? Was he able to get everybody in the right position? And then where was the throw at? Did he go through the progressions? Did he make the right read? Did he make the right throw? And all of these things, as you grade him through, sure enough, it might be even after 1, 2, and even a week, it might be like, okay, there were some ups and downs. But by the time you get through 2 weeks of practice, somebody is going to edge in front. It might not be substantial. And right now, that guy is Cade. And if you don't want that news, Tolo, and I get it because the quarterback, everybody's going to go crazy on any single news anywhere. Like it was Matt Weiss, who you heard from at the beginning. He said something about McCarthy, like, yeah, we like McCarthy, and at some point when he gets in there, he's going to be great. I'm paraphrasing it, but he said something like that. And I saw, somebody on Twitter saying, it's just a matter of time that McCarthy starts this year. That's not what he said. And I think the guy was trying to be funny. But, anything that is said about the quarterbacks, people are going to go, they're going to run with, because guess what? Everybody clings on to what is being said about the quarterbacks. And the media knows this. And the fans eat it up. They click it the most. It sells the most. It gets the most hits. I don't know. I was going to say sells the most newspapers, but I don't know who's buying a newspaper. I haven't bought a newspaper in 5 years. It sells the most magazines. I buy a magazine here and there. Okay. That's why they're hell-bent on it, Tolo, because people are interested in it. Totally interested in what's going on with the QBs. Antoine is interested in putting some feedback out here. He said, if Cade starts, I won't be mad. I just think that JJ can take them to a higher place. But I do recognize that slow and steady, while not great, can be an asset sometimes. Checking the football down is the best play. I kind of feel like, Antoine, maybe we've got a situation where Cade is the tortoise and I'm sorry. Yeah, Cade is the tortoise and JJ's the hare. And most of us want to put the money on the hare. Woo, it's off. But, slow and I don't know. I could sit there all day and run things out like that. Closer it gets, the more I'm thinking JJ from AR. He's the threat on the ground, could open it up for our stud backs. Scott with feedback on the quarterbacks. McCarthy ends up being the starter by midseason. I don't think that's some kind of hot take at all, Scott. I think that can happen. Don Brown, D. Brown says, I'm sorry, there is no way Cade is winning the battle. This conversation is getting weird. We all know who the better quarterback is. Yeah, there's nothing weird about saying that Cade McNamara right now is winning the quarterback battle, especially if it's true. And there's nothing weird, D. Brown, if Cade McNamara starts the opener. There's nothing weird at all about that. And again, you can throw the ball the length of the field, you can run around in figure eights, and you can whip the ball across the field, and you can make all those things. There are other things that go into playing the position. And again, I'll state it for the second time today. I think that McCarthy by October 5th is going to be the starter for Michigan. So I'm not trying to play both sides or anything else. That's my prediction. There is a world where I also, like, I'm not sitting here like if October 1st gets here and people and I'm doing this show and be like, well, you're an idiot, okay. I mean, you can call me that. There is a world that Cade McNamara starts Colorado State, starts against Iowa, Michigan goes to 5-0, and then he keeps starting through the rest of the campaign against Michigan State. All the way down to Columbus in the final game, there is a world where Cade McNamara, and there's nothing weird about that. It's not even a long shot. Is it probable? Is it probable that Cade McNamara starts every game for Michigan this year? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Now, if you think that's weird, that's going to be getting weird to entertain that, Mr. Brown. He says he might feel differently about Cade, but after his spring performance, it's clear he's not getting any better. Yeah, I've gone through the spring performance. He had one bad pass. I mean, he had a couple knocked down. Like, the ball placement was there. It was 7 throws. Sure enough, he was 3 of 7, but if all catches one, there's 4 of 7. And he had 2 that the ball was right on the money. But the defender made the nice play. He said maybe he shouldn't have thrown that because the defender was draped all over him. I'll buy that. I'm not acting like he played great in the spring game either. But let's not make it sound like it's clear that he's not getting better based on what you saw from 7 throws and 3 series in the spring game. But I will say that Don Brown, I keep calling you Don Brown. Maybe your name is Don Brown. Mr. Brown, maybe. Well, I'm not saying maybe. In the scenario of today, if McNamara plays like he did in the spring game, even though it wasn't horrible, I will be saying, look, it's time to put the backup in. And it might be time to let that backup then to have 3 series. If there's like no plan to insert him anyways. Like if we go to that Iowa game and Cade McNamara is the starter. If Cade comes out and has 3 series like he had in the spring game, I'm not going to be mad at anybody that's yelling at their TV and saying, hey, Harbaugh, or if he made the trip all the way to Iowa, do I think that even as a Michigan supporter that you would be okay with saying, hey, Harbaugh, you got another quarterback in there, let's put him in. I think that's fair. We all just are having our opinion on it, Antoine has a theory. Maybe I skipped over his theory. Here's his theory. He thinks that JJ is the better quarterback in terms of what he can do, but I think by now it must be him being a little bit too much of a gunslinger. He may just be thrown to throwing dangerous balls. Yeah, Antoine, I think that makes sense. If Cade, I'm not saying Cade's super safe and is never throwing any 50-50 balls, but Cade might just get rid of them. You're rolling out, the pressure's there, it's not there. Cade might just throw it away. Meanwhile, on that same play, JJ might roll out. He might escape, reverse field, run all the way to the other side. He might be pointing for guys, and then he might throw it 60 yards and, sometimes hit the receiver right in. Wow, what a play. Amazing. Other time, maybe you didn't see, maybe throw a pick. You got Brett Favre, who's like the safest quarterback of all time, throwing the fewest interceptions. Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw many interceptions. Of course, he's got a great arm as well. All right. Did Saban even hesitate to bench Hurts? No. We can't be soft if we're trying to build an elite program. Well, Hurts did play the entire year and the championship game until he was benched. So he did hesitate. He could have had Tua in if he wanted more points earlier than that. But I overall agree with that. I'm not trying to, that was a big deal because it was mostly unheard of. If you have a quarterback that's your starter and got you to the championship game, pulling him out for a true freshman in Tagovailoa, which Saban did, and it worked, and he ended up winning a national championship for it. And it's huge for Harbaugh because, we know how coaches go. We kind of know Harbaugh, like fullback, loves his quarterback, played the position, loves McNamara, one of the Big Ten and everything. Let's just go with McNamara. He's a student of the game. He's not going to do anything he's going to do everything. And, and then you got the more of the bucking Bronco over there. And, the saying that's why he gets paid the big bucks. Come on. I'm not BSing anybody. I'm just giving you my own opinion of the 7 throws of the spring game. Okay. We got some recruiting to get here. I don't know if somebody's saying I'm being fair or, they're being fair. Let's see. Cade had to get benched because we got exposed and he was shook. All right. At some point, guys are answering the other questions. So I'm not sure I can get to all of the feedback because sometimes it's responding to other people that are on the feedback. But again, not all bad having 2 quarterbacks out there. Let's get to some of the recruiting. And yesterday, people were telling me how Michigan was in on 2 guys. And I think one went to Iowa State and the other one went to Oregon, or one of them went to Oregon. I know that. And so Michigan didn't get the players that they were looking for yesterday in recruiting. They did over the weekend. They did land a tight end out of California in Zach Marshall. And that puts Michigan at 14 verbals. They're ranked 31 on Rivals. And this is something that's ongoing when it comes to recruiting, both in football and basketball. And it gets to, again, the dirty 3-letter acronym, NIL. How Michigan plays it, how they get involved. They're taking a wait and see until they do land 5-star recruits. The idea that that they're playing it safe and waiting down the line. That's what it appears to be their approach. That if you come in and after a couple years you'll get rewarded. That seems to be Michigan's game plan with name, image, and likeness right now. Maybe it'll work, but it's not working in terms of getting 5-star recruits right now. And maybe it will one day, but until that happens, I think there's reason to be skeptical about their approach with name, image, and likeness. And, maybe in the long run, they know exactly what they're doing and everything will be great when it comes down to name, image, and likeness. We're just going to have to, I don't know, I say wait and see, because along the way, we're going to weigh in. Is it an issue right now with Michigan? I would say firmly, maybe. If you wanted something a little bit stronger than that, I would say probably. I think, can they sacrifice an entire year of not jumping in like other teams and making promises and still be okay? Probably. Would I like them to change their approach? Doesn't mean they have to be cheaters, dirty cheaters. No, remember this. The Supreme Court voted on players getting money, and it was unanimous. Now I know. Yes, they should be able to benefit from name, image, and likeness. The fans overwhelmingly support players getting paid. Meanwhile, the NCAA is not doing anything. They can't when it comes down to a team saying, hey, you know what? You come here, we will promise you, even though we can't, we'll promise you $1 million. We just can't say that to you. But once you get here, we promise it to you. So we're promising it to you without really promising. Michigan athletic department say, oh, that's cheating. Where fans and most other teams are saying, look, not really. Come on. It's not really. The players getting paid. It's what everybody else is doing. Not really. Not like we're, putting money under a table or anything. We're just, circumventing the rule that's there that nobody's abiding by. So, 50 wants Michigan to cheat. That's not really. I don't. People don't consider it cheating. I don't consider it cheating. And most people do not consider it cheating. And nobody's going to get caught. So it's like speeding. If you never, and it's fine. Like if it says posted 70 and you don't go 1 mile over the speed limit, I'm all right with that. You can do that. Because you don't want to break any rules. You don't want to get pulled over. I drive 72, 73. Technically, could I get pulled over? Most of the time, people are flying by me. That doesn't mean I should start going 90. But there's been other times I go a little bit faster. But for the most part, I drive about 72, 73. That's it. Very conservative, but it is over the speed limit. If I got pulled over and the cop wanted to hit me with the, I don't know, can you be fined? I can say, actually, you're cheating. You're going over the speed limit. I don't know. That's at least the way I look at it. I know not everyone does. And a lot of people at Michigan shaking their head saying, you know what, you think we're the, I think they go too much to the extreme. Or they just say, look, it's either cheating, you're either playing by the rules or you're not. And we are playing by the rules. Actually, that's how somebody described it to me. So there you go. Okay. We'll get some feedback in here that we think that everybody can join in on. Jesse saying fans forget this is a team and most of the starters, I'm sure, want to ride with Cade. Yeah, that part's interesting, Jesse. I'm not sure. If you're on a team, you want to win, and you want the guy that's going to be best, most deserving. And I think for the most part, I mean, if it's really close, then we're going to really be in store from some exciting things. Because if it's out there and Cade's playing well and JJ's pushing them, and, it's just like, it's so tough to decide. They end up going with Cade, and half the room is split. When they get home, they're like, man, I'd start McCarthy. He's awesome. And then, the other half be like, I don't know, Cade's our guy. If the team is really split on that, well, then you're going to have a hell of a September watching these guys compete. And at some point you can't be, it's the essence of sports. That's why we hate ties. These guys can't be perfectly 50-50, right down the middle. That's why in boxing, you might watch around and say, boy, that looked really even. You have to score it one way or the other. That's why when you're asked who's the greatest player of all time in Michigan history, or who's your favorite player in Michigan history, when people ask me that, I don't hesitate and I say Anthony Carter. When you start getting into people say, well, it's a tie between Anthony Carter and Charles Woodson and Tom Harmon, it's like, you have to pick one. That's sports. Harbaugh has to pick one. Although he seems like he's picking two right now. Venice JJ is not going anywhere. You got to understand you're developing a quarterback, not a running back. He will play full-time when he earns it. Well, that's fine. I think that there's been some debate on, like when you have two, one of them can hightail it out of here. Both of them could actually stay for 2 years beyond this. So they're in the exact same position class-wise. That's funny because McNamara was, red-shirted, and then he had the pandemic. And so even though he's like a senior, he could still technically play for 3 more years. I don't think that if you're developing your quarterback and he feels like here's the tricky part for Harbaugh. If McNamara wins it and you sit McCarthy down and you say, look, these are the reasons, this is the tape, this is what we saw on the practice field, and this is why we're going with them. We're still going to play you. You're still going to have the opportunity in September. And then if they get to October and it's still McNamara and they say, hey, here's the plan for October. And at the end of the season, if McCarthy does not like that plan, or he does not feel like he's been given the opportunity, is there a chance that at that point he could say, okay, I'm going to go try it somewhere else? Yes, absolutely. And there's also, how much of a chance is there that, Cade would then go pro? I mean, these where you start getting all these different things, or you better play JJ or he is gone for sure. If they're winning, and the quarterback position is playing well, and the guy in front of you is playing well, and you could see where, you could see the reasoning why, or maybe your biggest confidence outside the coaching staff, maybe like your dad or your quarterback coach outside of Michigan or wherever else that is. I don't know. Say, yeah, he's playing just that little bit better. You're doing a good job. Could there be a chance that he can then stay around and fight it out again? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If I had to predict, I don't think that this is going to happen next year. I think the guy that ultimately does not play the majority of the snaps is likely to go somewhere else. Now, there was a hot take Tuesday. Was it last Tuesday? That right here on Hot Take Tuesday, the indication is like these guys get paid, $9 million a piece. They could stay around for 3 more years. And it's quarterbacks like to play though, but money, also money talks. If I was Cade and I got supplanted, and somebody was saying, look, you can come back and fight it out with McCarthy next year, and you can get $4 million. And McNamara's looking at the NFL and thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to get drafted. I could make $4 million as a backup. Michigan might be able to do that. And that might be, getting back to the name, image, and likeness plan. And Michigan staying, if you stay, you'll get rewarded. That's not if you feel like in this scenario, McCarthy wins the job at some point and they go into the offseason and Cade, instead of feeling like he's going to bolt and go somewhere else, if he's making, I don't know, I'd say $4 million. But I'm saying $4 million. Cade stays around. They say, hey, here's $4 million. I could see that. I don't think that's the craziest thing ever. Right, Florida? Right, Malachi? JJ's girl goes to Michigan State. If we don't start him, he's going to go there. Ooh. There's a monkey wrench. I don't know that. The only one, do I know? I do know. I know that A.J. Henning's girlfriend also goes to Michigan State. Yeah. America, we don't want any, you don't want transfers to begin with. You certainly don't want to transfer to your rival. Casey, here he is. Cade is the better proven QB. Don't make this mistake again, Michigan fans. I think you're alluding to the Henson Brady rotation. And since I was working in Ann Arbor when that happened, and I was firmly in the Henson camp, I feel like I need to explain myself just for a second. When Brady came out in '98, after Michigan had won the national championship, I saw him come in, and I remember his first pass. It was against UCLA. He's like, "Oh, here's the kid from California." It didn't look like a whole hell of a lot, honestly. If you look at him, like he's Tom Brady. It didn't look like much. He gets out there against UCLA, first pass, pick six. Okay, not a good start for Tom Brady. It comes out. Michigan is defending champs. They go to Notre Dame. They get smacked upside the head, 0-1. They come back, take on Donovan McNabb in Syracuse, and they get run over at home by the Orangemen. Tom Brady, start of his career, 0-2. First pass is a Wolverine, pick six. You got Drew frickin' Henson, greatest quarterback of all time in high school, certainly the all-time home run hitting king in high school baseball. Can throw the ball to the moon. Local product, baseball, football. This guy's the greatest thing ever. Why not go to Henson at that point? 0-2 anyways with Brady, but they didn't do that. Henson came in, here or there, but they went with Brady. And so the next year, you're thinking, hey, you still got a couple more years with Henson. Why not go with Drew Henson? And the thing is, like, Drew Henson, if Drew Henson, he got hurt as a junior and had his first game against Illinois, you know what he did when he came in and played against Illinois? He was great. And you know what he did the rest of the year? He was awesome. He went down to Columbus, bootleg, walked it in, beat the Buckeyes. Drew Henson, if he would have gone pro, would have been a first-round pick. If Drew Henson would have stayed around for his senior year, he probably would have won the Heisman Trophy. Drew Henson was all of that. It turns out that Tom Brady, ended up being all that as well, but it doesn't take away. Drew Henson was great. He was a great prospect, and he turned in a great performance at Michigan. He was great in his junior year. And I think everyone knows by now is that Tom Brady started every game at Michigan when Drew Henson was there. There wasn't one time that Henson started over Tom Brady. 2 times he started in the second half at Syracuse. I was at that game. And at Michigan State. I was at that one. 35-34. An interesting story I'll tell really quick about that game at the Carrier Dome. I was late getting into the game, parking, whatever. So, I'm walking up in between 2 parking garages, Michigan at Syracuse. So this would have been 1999. Walking through the parking garage, and I see the year before, you remember the game I was talking about with Donovan McNabb, the Syracuse fan base stole the M Go Blue banner, or it says M supports. They ripped it off of Michigan, stole it. And as I was walking between these 2 parking garages, I see the banner. It is being unfurled out one of the parking garages. And these guys are, they're doing keg stand. I don't know if they're drinking, and I see the banner. And I'm thinking, there's no, maybe I could snatch the banner, because they were up like 2 or 3 things in the parking garage and the banner was hanging down. I'm thinking I could grab the banner and I could return Michigan's banner that was stolen. Maybe I'd be a hero. I had to think all this thing through really quick because the game's getting ready to start. I see the banner and I just decided to walk past. I didn't steal the banner. And for years, there were people that, told me I could have been a hero. And yet I wasn't, for not taking down that banner. You make these choices in life. I thought about it. Like, I steal the banner. These guys are mad. Maybe they do. I don't know if they could have jumped down. I'm trying to think. Maybe they could. It seemed like 3 up there was kind of high. What am I going to do? I don't even know how big that banner. Am I going to be running into the stadium with a banner with a bunch of drunk Syracuse fans chasing me? Yeah. You wouldn't have like I could have ripped the banner off and took off and gone the other way, skipped the game. Maybe I'd have come up with it, but I was there to watch the game. If I had somebody that was with me, maybe that talked me into it, run some interference, those sort of things, maybe I would have done it, but I didn't. And so that's that. Okay, let's see. People are really into D Brown. It's good to see him here. Cade is Joe Flacco at his best, and that's okay as long as you can run the ball. There's nothing necessarily wrong with you. It's just you're limited. Well, the year Joe Flacco and the Ravens won that Super Bowl, remember Joe Flacco in the playoffs, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions for Joe Flacco. All right, D Brown, it's good to see you there. Don Brown. Oh, his name is Dennis, by the way. Dennis Brown. All right. Well, how can I be upset about that, right? Let's see. We'll take a couple more here. Florida. We go to the feedback. Says, people act like JJ was a turnover machine. He threw a couple picks. One at the end was a Hail Mary. He threw 0 interceptions in his senior year in high school. Yeah, they didn't like the Michigan State ball security. That's what's going on. JJ can outplay Coldridge. I don't know. I think that's McNamara. I don't know. If Cade wins, he will earn it, and his play will show it. But all the reasons given for him leading is all speculative. Y'all would bench Mahomes for Cade. It's not all speculative. And if you were a member of the Maize and Blue Review, you would see these sources next to the publisher's name that is putting out some of the practice reports. But I'll give you this, T.O. The majority of news coming out of camp, even from some of there's a lot of speculation going on. I'm with you on that. So there it goes. Malachi has not had a good day on the feedback, indicating where people's girlfriends are going and all that. So, putting a little wrinkle into it. We'll end it here with Ferris. There is an assumption that Cade can't grow as a quarterback, and that's a bit unfair. Good point. You know what doesn't help Cade out is, I was going to say a couple things, but there's one thing that I'm thinking about. When you watch JJ throw the ball, it's a thing of beauty. And he's got this rocket, but he also, delivers it. Like if you were making up like the perfect mechanics for a quarterback, even though they changed a little bit of his throwing motion in the offseason, that quarterback guru or the throwing guru changed a little bit of his throwing motion. When I watch JJ throw the ball, it just looks like this guy looks like a just pro. This guy looks like an all-pro, first-round pick. It's just a matter of it happening. That's how it looks. That's not even getting into him, taking off and what he can do with his feet. And he just has the look, throwing the ball. He's got an NFL arm. He's got NFL arm talent. And Cade, he kind of shoots it from down here. It was a little bit like watching, it's not totally like Phillip Rivers, like whatever that shot put thing that Phillip Rivers was throwing at NC State. I remember when Phillip Rivers was at NC State, I was like, this guy's not going to be able to play in the pros. And he got that ball shooting it out from his hip. And Cade's got this, he's kind of, I don't know, it's not exactly, I'm cocking my arm to the side. It's not a classic over-the-top thing of beauty. And he's kind of shooting it out there sidearm. And he does have footballs that get tipped at the line occasionally. It's not like he's 6'5" either. He's 6'1", 6'2". He gets some balls knocked down, and he doesn't have the classic. That hurts him a little bit in the fans' minds. Also, that, he's not very elusive. Also, that if you go back and look, sure enough, Michigan had a fabulous year. It was a banner year last year. But in a lot of those games, Cade, 10 of 14, 67 yards and a touchdown. It's like, what are we talking about here? Those aren't QB1 numbers. Those aren't Big Ten. That's what I was thinking a lot during the year. Those aren't Big Ten championship quarterback numbers. Ultimately, they were. But he can get better. That was Ferris's point. He's going to get better. I do go back when he came in for Joe Milton against Rutgers during the pandemic. What did he account for? 4 or 5 touchdowns? He was a gamer. Ran all around. He was distributing the ball all over the place. Tough, leadership, all those things. You saw it all in that game. All right. Thanks for joining us today. We are here live weekdays at 1 o'clock talking about the latest in Michigan sports, and that includes the quarterback battle. If you're just joining us, I don't sit here every day and just talk about the quarterback battle. But once in a while, I do. And today was that day. I appreciate all of the feedback. And 1 o'clock tomorrow, we will be here again. I'm checking out Clubhouse right now. There's Paul. Paul's Mr. Clubhouse. He's always throwing some Go Blues out there. He wants fantasy football and he wants a pick'em show. Paul, you're going to get it come fall. All right. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk with you tomorrow. So long.